Hello you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to talk about some really simple ways that you can practice self-care in your life so you can make sure that you are a priority, that your health and well-being is a priority. Because if we're being honest, it's really tough sometimes to make that a priority. And sometimes it even feels like practicing self-care has to be something that is maybe more expensive or out of reach. But I want to share 12 ideas today of ways that you can practice self-care that don't require any money or very little money, things that you can do today or tonight even. And before I get into those 12 things, I just want to talk about kind of the reason for practicing self-care. I know personally I am a huge advocate, and especially in the field of education where I work, but also in so many other situations, it's very easy for us to prioritize the needs of others and sometimes forget about ourselves or put ourselves lower on the totem pole essentially. But longer term, that is not an effective approach to live your best life and to even be able to sustain the different pace of life that you're doing. If you continue pushing aside your own personal health or well-being, there will be consequences for that. And at some point you hit that breaking point, whatever that looks like for you. I've been there before, back when I was younger. Points of, for me, if I just got so stressed out to a certain point, I would just kind of break down, start crying, try to figure it out. It hasn't happened for a long time, but I definitely remember my senior year of college had some of those, as well as my first year of teaching. Just the point of overwhelm, feeling like you can't handle it, and you kind of have to put on the brakes and go forward. It's that example of when you're on an airplane and they tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first in case of needing it before helping out another person. Same thing here. If you are not in your best shape or your best physical, emotional, or mental condition, you're not going to be able to help others as much, and you'll be dragging or drained or just really stressed to an unhealthy point. So that's the why with practicing self-care. So these are in no particular order. I think they can all be really beneficial. Maybe you'll find a couple of these to be helpful. Maybe there's even just one new idea here of something that you can do to practice self-care. Let's get started. First up, taking some sort of spa day. Now with this, I don't mean actually going to a spa, getting a massage, but if that's in your budget, go for it. It's not in mine. Taking that extra time to pamper yourself a bit at home. I know for me, maybe it was just a winter thing, but also after a more stressful day of work, I think a lawn hot shower is probably the best thing ever. And so I really enjoy doing that. And even simple things like taking extra time to take care of your skin or your hair if you've got, different treatments or products that you like to use for that really just give it some extra attention. Maybe it has to do with playing some music, like relaxing music while you're getting ready for bed. Whatever it is, take some extra time to really savor those moments in your routine. I think doing a good deed is a great way to practice self-care. Even though it's not directly to yourself, can you relate to that immense feeling of excitement? And there's just a high that comes along with doing something good for someone else. Whether that is, secretly paying for someone else's stuff at like a restaurant or getting coffee or something. Maybe it's giving a little token of appreciation, whether it's a little note to someone who, maybe it's someone at work who works really hard. And it can be even as simple as holding the door open for someone or greeting someone that you run into in your day with positivity and with a smile. These little things I think can make us feel so good. And I feel like it just kind of nourishes our soul. And so when we're able to do good deeds, I think that can be a great way to practice self-care, even though it's not directly to yourself. I think we often reap the benefits of that. Even though sometimes in our most stressful moments, we crave more so like those comfort foods that maybe aren't that healthy for us. If we focus instead on like nourishing our bodies, giving our bodies the types of foods that they want and make them feel their best, we will in turn feel better. So trying to identify what those foods are to you and making those or getting those instead. One of my favorite, hacks, even though it's not really that much of a hack, to practice self-care is to do an activity that you would normally save for the weekend on a weekday night. Now, I'm a pretty simple person, so maybe this doesn't sound that exciting, but for instance, I kind of view seeing a movie as like a really exciting thing for a weekday night. Jake and I don't really watch that many movies. We probably go to the theaters about 2 or 3 times a year, and then we'll rent movies as well. So I'm kind of talking about the renting example here, or of course if you have something where you can stream movies or have access to movies other ways, that works too. But we normally don't view a movie watching night as a weekday night kind of thing. But when you put that on the weekday night, it gives you those weekend vibes without it actually being the weekend. And so I think that can be really fun for us to kind of mix things up and, you know, sit there for an enjoyable movie instead of stressing out about work or whatever else you might have been doing instead. So that's definitely one of my favorite things to do when I want to practice self-care. This next tip has to do with a to-do list. So there's 2 directions with this one. On one hand, if you've got something on your to-do list that has been there for a while and you're kind of just realizing that it's probably not going to happen, or it's been putting a lot of pressure on you, and maybe it's not even that important, just get rid of it. Who cares? You know, let that thing go, whatever that task was, if it's really not that important and it's been weighing on your mind for a long time. Conversely, maybe there is a task that's been on your to-do list for a while and it is important, you kept pushing it off. Maybe it's time to actually do it. Even though the process of doing that task might not be pleasant, when you get that task done and achieved, there's going to be such a good feeling about doing that. You're going to feel so accomplished. I find sometimes the best way to motivate ourselves or to feel our best and that sense of accomplishment is when you take action and you take care of things that have been weighing on your mind for a long time. So either let something go that doesn't need to be there, or take care of something that you've been putting off but that's ultimately, you know, a good thing for you to be doing, just to have that sense of accomplishment. My next tip to practice self-care would be to reach out to someone who you haven't talked to in a while. Now, I know for myself, I can get very busy in terms of the different activities that I'm doing. And I think because I'm more of an introverted person, and as a teacher, you kind of are very extroverted in terms of how you interact, I don't really have a ton of desire to talk to people besides Jake when I come home. But I find that whenever I do reach out to friends or family members who I haven't talked to in a while, it always feels so good and just makes me so happy. So when I'm able to do that, that always brightens my spirits and makes me feel really good. My next way to practice self-care is with journaling. If I'm being honest, I personally have not journaled in a while, but for my sophomore and junior year of college, I pretty much journaled every day, and I found it to be a really healthy practice. Not only that, but it's also super fun to look back on because I did meet Jake during my junior year of college, and so I have like kind of the early stages of our relationship all documented. So it's been fun to go back and read it. But honestly, I think sometimes it can be really helpful for us to reflect upon how we're feeling at different moments, whether it's the positive or the negative feelings. Because the good news is, if it's the positive ones, it's a way to cherish those and celebrate those. And if it's a negative one, it's a way for us to kind of reflect about that and grow from that, especially because those negative things don't always last. They do often get better, and we can, you know, kind of see that process and be more reflective that way. I think journaling is also a great way to practice gratitude as well. Listing the things that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be a huge elaborate writing prompt, but the idea of thinking that you prioritize that and reflect on that to help you feel just more at peace and really grateful for what you have or what your experience is. I think disconnecting from technology can be really helpful. I know for me, this has looked like in the evenings trying to disconnect a bit more. I do typically stay up pretty late, and so I kind of find it's very peaceful after I've done the work I need to on the computer to kind of, you know, close that and focus on something else that I can do. Maybe it's tidying things up. Like I've been enjoying clean the kitchen more so right before I go to bed. That's been something that has been kind of therapeutic to me, as well as just having like very dim lighting. I'll have our Himalayan salt lamp on, which gives the room a really pink, pretty glow. Again, this is like at between probably midnight and 1 a.m. typically is when this is happening. But for me, it's really peaceful, and it's a way to just kind of disconnect. And the same goes for unplugging. Maybe it's time to go outside instead and get some exercise, or maybe it's just taking some time to step away from social media. Regardless of how you implement this, disconnecting from our electronic devices can be a really important thing that maybe some of us don't do as often as we should. Next up, exercise. Using fitness as a chance to care for ourselves is really important, just with both what happens physically, some of the different endorphins you get after you've been exercising, but also the fact that it gives us a chance to move our bodies. It will make us more productive later on and help us feel our best and feel most vibrant. Next up, spending less time with those who are more negative or bring out the negative. Whether these are those office complainers, whether it's negative posts on social media, whether it is even some of the conversations you have in your own personal life. The more we dwell on the negative, it kind of can eat away at our happiness. Obviously, sometimes negative things happen and you want to vent or talk about them, but if we can otherwise avoid some of the negative stuff that's coming at us that we don't need to hear or be there for, that might help our overall happiness and help us feel better. Next up, deleting digital files or just decluttering digital files that don't matter. This is just something I did yesterday. I had a lot of emails building up, specifically in my promotions tab. This is in like my main personal Gmail account, so not my Abundantly Minimal account. And I had so many emails. It was actually like over 4,000 messages that were in my promotions folder. Now, I really hadn't done a good job of dealing with those for a long time. That we're looking at like 2 to 3 years of email buildup. There were messages from 2015 that I was dealing with, but I said, enough's enough. I went through and I deleted all of them. Now, what I didn't know that I discovered yesterday is that Gmail had an option that you could delete all the messages in the promotional tab. And so I was like, there could be something important there, but we're just gonna trust. I looked at a couple of the recent ones, but I really just deleted them all. Gone. And that felt so good. And the fact that I have an empty promotionals parts of my email, my personal email, is amazing. So that was something a way to care for myself. That was kind of unexpected, but I found it to be really helpful, so maybe you would too. The 11th way to practice self-care is to schedule something just for you. We often put the needs of others in front of our own, and I know myself, I think it's just kind of human nature. It's like, if Jake's had a rough day, I don't care what happened in my day. I want to do what I can to help him. And likewise, when I'm at school teaching, I can kind of tell through different like body language or things that the ways kids might be acting if something's off with them. I want to see if I can try to talk to them to figure out what's wrong. If there's anything I can do to help. I know oftentimes there's not, but at least if I can try to do that, that's a priority to me. But we have to remember at the end of the day, it's like that oxygen mask example, you've got to take care of yourself first. So if it's helpful, schedule that time just for yourself to focus on healing yourself. That, I think, is so important to help us continue helping others. And then lastly, I think one of the best ways to practice self-care is to be your own cheerleader. And I think this can manifest itself in several ways. I know that sometimes in society, we don't want to come across that we're too confident or even arrogant. We don't want to maybe, rock the boat and speak up for ourselves as much as we maybe should. But if you can advocate for yourself and also value yourself and celebrate your accomplishments, I think that will make you so much happier and also prevent negativity from building up in the first place. Not a simple fix. I know it's not as simple as like, feel more confident and then you can fix it. But if we can focus on, celebrating ourselves and even in your own life, just celebrating even the little successes, building up your confidence, trying to build up your self-esteem, I think it means you're able to accomplish much more. Well, I do sometimes, wonder if it comes across as being too confident. I personally have found in my own life that I always do celebrate my successes. Even if there are moments of frustration along the way, I kind of mentally congratulate myself and feel awesome after each time I've completed a task or made progress on different activities. And I do speak up for myself and advocate for myself when I need to. Sometimes it maybe feels like it's not the popular choice. Sometimes maybe it seems like you might be alienating others. Obviously, it's all a balance to try to figure out like what the right amount of advocating for yourself looks like. But if you can try to be your own cheerleader and support yourself rather than maybe having negative self-talk or belittling yourself, that is going to take you so much farther in life and also I think contribute more to overall happiness. That is probably the best tip out of all of these, the idea of advocating for yourself. Be that person for yourself, because like I said earlier, it's very easy in life for others to take advantage of us, and at the end of the day, sometimes we can only count on ourselves to be that person for us. So try to do that if you can. I hope this video was helpful to you guys and that some of these will be helpful methods to practice self-care. I would love to hear from you in the comments if there was one of these that you think you'd like to implement, or your own personal self-care strategies, because obviously different things work best for different people, and I'd love to hear what you're doing to practice self-care in your own life. Otherwise, if you'd like to check out some past videos, you can do so right over here. And if you have not yet joined our community here at Abundantly Minimal, you can subscribe to the channel right up there. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.